A website can look completely fine on your phone and still be losing leads. The logo fits, the text is readable, nothing's hanging halfway off the screen, so everybody looks at it and says, yep, it's mobile friendly. But being mobile friendly only means the website technically works on a smaller screen. It doesn't mean it helps someone become a lead. A website can pass all the basic mobile tests while still making it unnecessarily difficult for a potential customer to understand what you do, decide whether they trust you, or contact you. And for a local service business, those things are what actually matters. There's an important difference between a mobile-friendly website and a lead-friendly mobile website. A mobile-friendly website fits the screen. A lead-friendly website helps someone quickly figure out whether your business is relevant, trustworthy, and easy to contact. The distinction matters because most people visiting a service business website on their phone are not there to explore. They're probably standing in their kitchen looking at water damage. They're sitting in their driveway wondering why the garage door sounds like it's trying to escape. They might be comparing 3 companies while pretending to pay attention to something else. Whatever the situation, they usually want answers quickly. Most visitors are trying to answer 4 basic questions. Do you provide the service I need? Do you serve my location? Can I trust you? And how do I contact you? That's the decision path. So if your website makes any of those answers difficult to find, you're introducing friction between the visitor and the action you want them to take. They're not settling in for an evening of thoughtful website exploration over a nice glass of wine. They want an answer. Here are 5 common ways service businesses, websites make those answers harder to find. So the first problem is an unclear first screen. When someone opens your website, they should be able to understand what you do almost immediately. Not after opening the menu, not after scrolling through a paragraph about your commitment to quality, not after deciphering a vague slogan like excellence you can count on. That could describe a plumber, an accountant, or a suspiciously confident pizza restaurant. Your first screen should clearly communicate the primary service, who it's for, the area you serve when location matters, and what the visitor should do next. Something like professional roof cleaning for homeowners in York, Pennsylvania is not clever, and that's precisely why it works. Clarity usually beats creativity when someone's trying to solve an actual problem. The second problem is bearing the contact action. A potential customer should not have to search for the phone number, the estimate button, or contact form. On mobile, the primary action needs to be obvious and easy to tap. That could be, a visible request an estimate button, a clickable phone number, or a simple sticky contact bar. The right choice depends on how customers normally contact the business. The important part is that visitors should never have to, wonder what to do next. I still see websites where the only phone number is hidden inside the footer. Technically, it's on the website, so is the privacy policy. That doesn't mean, people should have to conduct an archaeological dig to find it. So the third problem is the mobile menu. Mobile navigation can break the experience in several different ways. The menu might open up halfway off the side of the screen. Every submenu might be expanded at once, like the example you see on screen here. The menu might take over the entire screen, but refuse to scroll. Important service pages might be hidden beneath vague labels. Or the parent menu item might stop working as a link because the entire thing was turned into a sub-menu toggle. A mobile menu does not need to show every page you ever created. It needs to help visitors reach the most important service, location, proof, and contact pages without making them solve a puzzle. So open your menu on an actual phone and try using it with one hand. If that immediately makes you angry, it's probably making potential customers angry too. The fourth problem is making visitors wait too long for trust and location information. So people need to know whether you serve their area. They also need a reason to believe that you can actually do what you claim. That doesn't mean, stuff in the first screen with 12 badges, 6 awards, and every review you've had since 2009. It means placing useful trust signals near the points where people make decisions. That might include your review rating, years of experience, relevant licensing, just recognizable project photos, a short testimonial, or a clear service area statement. The right proof depends on the business. But if someone has to reach the bottom of a very long page before seeing any evidence that you're legitimate, you made that decision harder than necessary. The fifth problem is an annoying contact form. Forms tend to grow over time. Somebody wants to know the customer's budget. Somebody else adds a drop down. Then another field gets added because it might be useful later. Eventually the simple estimate request starts feeling like a mortgage application. Every additional field asks the visitor to do more work before they even have spoken to you. So just collect what information you genuinely need to begin the conversation. You can gather the rest of the information, after contact's been established. Also, test the form on a real phone. Make sure fields are large enough, the correct keyboard appears, the submit button works, and no pop-up or chat widget covers half the form. Those sound like small technical details. To the visitor who can't submit the form, they're the entire experience. Now, here's a quick way to evaluate your own website. Open it on your phone. Don't look at it as the owner of your business. Pretend you know absolutely nothing about the company. Then try to answer those same 4 questions. Do you provide the service I need? Do you serve my location? Can I trust you? And how do I contact you? Don't give yourself credit for already knowing where everything is. That's cheating. Pay attention to how much scrolling, tapping, reading, and guessing it takes to answer each of those. Then open the menu. Try the contact buttons. Complete the form. Do the test using mobile data if possible, not just Wi-Fi. You want to do it on a slower connection to simulate experiences people are actually having. If any important answers requires hunting, the website has a conversion problem, even if nothing appears technically broken. So responsive design is the baseline. It keeps your website from falling apart on a smaller screen, which is obviously important, but it doesn't automatically create a useful customer experience. A lead-friendly mobile website gives people clear answers, relevant proof, simple navigation, and an obvious next step. So before spending more money on ads, SEO, or anything else designed to bring more people to your website, make sure the mobile version helps those people act once they arrive. Check your own website using the 4-question test. If you find one answer that's surprisingly difficult to locate, leave it in the comments. I'd be curious to know which one gave you the most trouble. I'm JD Simpkins, and I help service businesses fix what actually matter in their marketing. If that sounds useful, subscribe. I publish practical guidance about websites, Google visibility, advertising, and the systems businesses use to turn opportunities into actual customers. Thank you.